What up, everybody? Today I want to look at the characters from Power Book 2 Ghosts who will be returning to the Power Universe and Power Legacy. Because either though we have to wait until the conclusion of Force to know all the details and characters who will survive into the Power Legacy timeline, we do have around half the story completed because of the fact Book 2 Ghost is finished. So either though I do expect Tariq and a few other Book 2 characters to appear in the final season of Force to set the stage for Power Legacy. At the same time, I don't think any Power Book 2 characters will be killed off the show in Force. At the start of Power Book 2, there was a good mix of characters whose story continued from OG Power to Power Book 2, like Tariq, Tasha, Cooper Sacks, Braden, Effie, Blanca Rodriguez, and Rashad Tate. There was also a set of new characters added to the show as well, like the Tejada family, Davis McLean, Lauren Baldwin, Carrie Milgram, and Jabari Reynolds. While in Power Book Force, Tommy went to a new city, showing up in Chicago, and the show was made up primarily of new characters added to the Power universe, other than Tommy and Liliana, and later on when Kate showed up in Chicago after Miriam's death. So I think wherever Tommy goes at the conclusion of Force, because we know he's going to be leaving Chicago, because the promo video announcing the season 3 will be Force's final season said that Tommy's journey in Chicago was coming to an end. We'll determine how many former characters we see coming back into the story compared to new characters added. Because if Tommy returns to New York alongside Tariq, then we'll likely see a lot of the same characters from Power Book 2, as well as even characters from OG Power who were connected to Tommy. But if Tommy goes to a new city like LA, for example, then of course we'll see a lot more new characters added. Characters from that specific city, just like when Tommy went to Chicago in Force. And if that happens, it would probably be a majority of new characters, but with whatever characters remain by Tariq's side at whatever point in the timeline it is when Legacy begins. So the first Power Book 2 character that will be returning in Legacy will be Tariq St. Patrick, because the Deadline article said that concerning Legacy, Michael Rainey Jr. and Joseph Sikora are expected to be the leads of the new series, reprising their roles as Tariq and Tommy. The article said that they heard. So it's not confirmed as of yet that Tariq and Tommy will be the main characters in Legacy, but it's definitely expected that they will be. Tariq is definitely one character from Power Book 2 who I think will also be in the final season of Force, so we can see how Tommy and Tariq's story will merge heading into Power Legacy. Because even though Tommy's no longer the op after him and Tasha hash things out, Tariq and him are both doing their own things right now, with Tariq working for Chinadu and becoming one of the biggest drug dealers in New York City, while Tommy's working with CBI to take over the city of Chicago. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly brings these two characters together in Legacy. The next Book 2 character, who I think's most likely return in Power Legacy, will be Blanca Rodriguez. Blanca's just not a Power Book 2 character, but also an OG Power character. And even though she didn't have a big role in Season 4 of Ghost, she did appear in the final episode. And it's also been teased that Blanca could appear in Force as well, looking into all the crime taking place in Chicago as a result of Tommy showing up there. Another character who I think we'll likely see in Power Legacy is Chinadu, because of the fact he's Tariq's new connect. And either though Chinadu wasn't a main character or regular on Book 2, I feel like he was added at the end of the series to kind of introduce his character moving forward in Power Legacy. And if Tariq's still running things at the point in the timeline when Power Legacy begins, Chinadu will have an important role on the show as Tariq's plug. Getting me to Braden Weston, another character I think will return in Power Legacy. It will be very interesting to finally see Braden and Tommy on the screen at the same time and how they interact with each other and exactly how Tommy feels about Braden. But with that said, the door was kind of left open for Braden to somewhat be written off the show going into Power Legacy at the same time because the fact that Tariq told Braden that moving forward he would be working for him and that he was only going to be giving Braden one more chance. So there is a chance that Tariq could be disconnected from Braden by the time Power Legacy begins if he was to continue getting high and Tariq potentially cut him off. But even if that happened at the beginning of Power Legacy, I still think Braden will come along and return to Power Legacy at some point in time. Getting me to Davis McLean. And when I talk about adding new characters to the mix to make the show new and interesting, Davis was one of those characters at the beginning of Power Book 2 Ghost when he was first introduced. I definitely think adding Method Man and Mary J. Blige to the show helped boost it up. But at this point, even though I said Braden and Chinadu before Davis McLean, Davis's return might even be more likely because of the fact he's tied Tariq as his lawyer, and also Tariq has left Davis in charge to clean his money and keep things moving. So because of that, Davis would likely also be in Power Legacy. And then at that point, we could finally get the question answered: does Davis and Tommy know each other? And exactly what is their history? Was Davis involved in helping Tommy fake his death? The next character who will also likely return in Power Legacy is Effie Morales. Even though there's been a lot of speculation recently if she'll still be returning to the Power universe after the actress Alex Lepre was recently arrested in Georgia. But personally, I don't think that's going to affect her acting career, at least involving the Power universe. Because even though I really ain't been keeping up with all the details, I know number one, that it wasn't very serious. And also, both Michael Rainey Jr. and Gianni Paolo have defended Alex on social media. So, since her Power co stars have her back, I think she's good. As far as the character Effie, she didn't make it to Stanford after giving Kane her tuition money and was forced to stay at Stansfield and hustle for Tariq. Even though I do think she'll most likely be in Power Legacy at the same time, there will also likely be a time jump by the time Power Legacy begins. So her hustle at Stansfield with the Course Perfect app might not be relevant anymore if she's no longer a student there. There's also Nico Holston, who Tariq connected with at the end of Power Book 2, and is now on Tariq's payroll as his police protection. Nico, being a character who was introduced in the final season of Book 2, is definitely a character who I think will still be connected to Tariq moving forward in Power Legacy. So those are the 7 Power Book 2 characters that I think are most likely to return in Power Legacy, and adding Tommy Egan would make it 8, with at least probably 6 of those characters being series regulars, and Chinadu probably being a recurring character only in a handful of the episodes at most. Then add in a good mix of new characters that would probably round out the cast of series regulars. Not to mention if Tommy takes anybody from Chicago with him into the legacy moving forward, like Mireya, D-Mac, or Kate, as he leaves Chicago to go to a new city. Because the show normally has about 10 to 12 main characters, so that wouldn't leave room for too many more former series regulars once we get a few new characters added to the mix. Another character who will likely return in some role will be Tasha St. Patrick. But since she was only a guest star in the final 3 seasons of Power Book 2, the question is, will she return as a main character, or only just make a couple appearances per season, like she's been doing? And of course, the main characters from Power Book 2 that I left off this list was the Tejada family. And that's because they were scattered at the end of Book 2 with Kane fleeing to an unknown city, Drew going to Paris to do artwork, and Diana left in New York all by herself. And even though Diana stayed in New York, when Tariq met up with Effie and Braden and talked about how the business was going to work moving forward, Diana wasn't a part of that meeting. So we don't know how connected she'll remain to Tariq moving forward. But with that said, I definitely think we'll see the Tejadas return to the storyline eventually, whether that's Diana or Kane returning in Legacy. Kane could even potentially appear in Chicago in Power Book Force. And if there was any character who I think might could get a spin-off other than Legacy, I think it could be Kane getting his own spinoff, similar to how Tommy got his own spinoff on Force. What would be even more crazy is if Kane shows up in Chicago and the Force storyline actually continued in a Kane spinoff. Another character who could potentially be in Legacy but could also get his own spinoff is Rashad Tate. Keep it in mind he was already supposed to get a spinoff called Influence. So at the least, we might get a mini series about what's going on with Rashad Tate in DC. And there's also RSJ, who didn't even appear in season 4, book 2, but is definitely a character who we could see return at some point because the fact he's really not a main character, just a recurring character. So we could definitely see him show up in either Legacy or another spin-off, like something involving Rashad Tate. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.